Good evening. My name is Stephen Dolman, Events and Program Partnership Lead at Calgary Public Library. I'd like to begin today's program by acknowledging the land on which we are gathered. With gratitude, mutual respect, and reciprocity, we acknowledge the ancestral home, culture, and oral teachings of the Treaty 7 signatories, which include the Siksika Nation, Piikani Nation, Kainai Nation, the Ithaca Stoney Nakoda Nation, consisting of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney bands, and the people of the Tsuut'ina Nation. The city of Calgary is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and to the Otipemisiwak Métis government, Métis Nation Battle River Territory, Nose Hill Métis District 5, and Elbow Métis District 6. At Calgary Public Library, we celebrate stories, the stories of the community and the land that we live on. We serve the community on Winchispa, Gutitsi, and Mokinstis, which describes the gathering place where the Bow and Elbow rivers meet. We respect all people who share, celebrate, and care for the Treaty 7 territory of Southern Alberta, and we honor the original caretakers of the land, who remind us of the ongoing histories that precede us. We recognize our shared responsibilities going forward to help bring everyone together on this journey of truth and reconciliation. On behalf of Calgary Public Library, thank you for joining us this evening for Good Neighbors, Good Discussion, our Mayoral Candidates Forum. I'd like to thank our partners, our amazing partners at Bow Valley College, for partnering with us on this evening's event. And of course, thank you to all the mayoral candidates who are taking time out to be here with us this evening. We're looking forward to a respectful discussion as the candidates exchange their views on many issues from housing, affordability, and safety concerns. There are many, many areas that are important and really pressing for the upcoming election on October 20th. It is fitting that this discussion is happening here at the library, a place where community and sharing knowledge are a part of our foundation. As part of our commitment to civic engagement, Calgary Public Library is offering programs and resources to help you learn about important issues and be ready to vote for mayor, councillors, and school board trustees on October 20th. The library's role for Calgarians is to support the democratic process, freedom of expression, and informed discussion on political issues. It is through programs and events like the one we are at tonight that we can learn more and make informed decisions. This month, you can also learn more by visiting any of our 22 locations. You will find media literacy activities, voter information brochures, translated into 17 languages, and amazing ward zines created by the Sprawl that provide information on candidates in your ward and in the mayoral race. While you're visiting, make sure you register for your library card, as it will give you access to all these amazing programs, and of course, it's free. And check out the other general election 2025 programs throughout the rest of October leading up to the 20th. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our moderators for this evening, and I'm so thrilled that both of them were able to be here tonight. Laurie Williams is a political scientist and associate professor and student advisor in the Department of Economics, Justice, and Policy Studies at Mount Royal University. Jeromy Klaszus is a Calgary journalist who has reported on the city for Fast Forward, Weekly, the Calgary Herald, Metro, and CBC. In 2017, he launched The Sprawl to help fill the ever-widening gaps in the city's media landscape. Without further ado, I'll pass it over to Jeromy and Laurie to get us started. Thank you very much.
So thanks everyone for coming out tonight. This is an important event. Important information is going to be discussed. Looking at some of the people that are going to be speaking with us tonight and sharing their ideas and challenging each other's ideas. This is one of about 21, I hear, of these events that are going on, so I really appreciate the time and effort that you're putting in as well. I'm here just to mention a little bit about how we're going to run things tonight. First of all, this is going to be, I think, live streamed and recorded by Sprawl, so it'll be available online if you want to take a look at some of this material later. The plan for the evening will begin with 1-minute introductions by each of the candidates in the order that they are seated in front of you, followed by a series of questions with 1-minute answers from each candidate. There will be a rebuttal round after 2 of the questions, and again, we'll just go in alternating order. We'll start with a different candidate each time, but we'll follow the order that you see before you. And then, of course, if any of you don't want to rebut any of or take advantage of that rebuttal, 1-minute rebuttal, that's your choice as well. You can just indicate so. And then at the end of the question and answer period, we will have 2 minutes of concluding remarks from each of the candidates, and then we'll conclude the evening. Without further ado, I think we'll leave it to the candidates to introduce themselves to you and say a little bit about what they stand for. Jeromy, would you like to take over?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Wrong, Jeromy. My apologies. That's totally my fault.
Okay, well, this Jeromy will introduce that Jeromy because I'm going to introduce these candidates down the line. So first we do have Jeromy Farkas, followed by Sonya Sharp, Jaeger Gustafson, Brian Thiessen, Jyoti Gondek, Grant Pryor, Sarah Elder, and Jeff Davison. And with that, Jeromy, you can kick us off. You have 1 minute.
Hi, Jeromy. I am the other Jeromy. And I just want to say what a dream come true it is to be standing on a stage here with all of you at the library with these incredible candidates for mayor. I grew up in Forest Lawn as a nerd in the library, and my first start to public life was as a community association volunteer. I was told by my granny that if I wanted my shot to play for the Dover Cannons, and mind you, I was 6 years old, but if I wanted my shot, I had to sign up as a community association volunteer. And over the past several decades, I've grown, the city's grown, and I think I've been so grateful as a Calgarian to have so many incredible opportunities to serve as one of Calgary's youngest city councillors, as a police commissioner, as a nonprofit director. And through all of those roles, I've really seen Calgary through every corner. I've seen that we all want the same things: safe streets for our kids, jobs we can count on, housing we can afford, and leadership that we can trust. So I'm grateful for your consideration and looking forward to not just talk about the what, but the how of how we meet this moment for Calgary's next decade.
Sonya Sharp.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Sonya Sharp. I am the current Ward 1 City Councillor, and I'm running to be your mayor. So this evening, I am hoping that I will gain your vote in the next election, which happens October 20th. I am not running on a personal or ideological agenda. I am running on a to-do list, and this to-do list is a compiled conversations I've had with each and every one of you and Calgarians over the last 4 years. What's working, what's not working. And the top 3 things that I'm hearing is public safety. So we're going to be putting some things forward about public safety this evening, blanket rezoning and repealing it. And the one thing I'm also hearing from constituents around the city is bringing senior administration to heel, which means we need to get things back on track. We need to make them understand that council is in control and they report to us. So we'll be talking a little bit about that this evening as well, because all these great ideas we have, if we don't have control in the horseshoe, none of it will happen. So I'm excited about this evening, looking forward to the debate. Thank you for being here.
Jaeger Gustafson.
Hello, and that's correct, Gustafson. Thank you. My name is Jaeger Gustafson, and we will also be exploring ideas past the next 10 years. If you look, I think by 2035, Calgary can stabilize if we believe the data. But what people were really asking for is what is going to happen next. And I really want to create a city that is unified in a sense that we can continue to build on, not just for 2 million people, 10, 100 million people, who knows where the future is going, but we want to have ideas that bring us to tomorrow and beyond. And I've always thought about what were the words or what were the things that we need to focus on, because we really need to focus on things as things continue to change, because there's a lot of money coming in and we got to make sure people continue to invest. And it was around people. And the best way to bring people together is what we need to see in our hearts, and that's unity. So the themes tonight I'll be speaking on is people, unity, and the future. Thank you.
Brian Thiessen.
Hi, my name is Brian Thiessen, and I am so happy to be here tonight. Thank you all for coming. When I applied for law school at the University of Calgary 30 years ago, I was really attracted to this amazing city, the entrepreneurship, the meritocracy that exists here. And I wrote my essay when I applied for law school all about public service. And then I ran up a massive student debt and spent the next 30 years working in private practice and scratching that itch, working for Habitat for Humanity, Ronald McDonald House, chair of the Calgary Police Commission, and managing partner. I'm an employment lawyer, and my job is to fix dysfunction in organizations. So my clients all say, this is the perfect project for you, Brian. You have a lot to do at City Hall, and I've built a team, and we've built some amazing policy, public safety toolkit, housing, transit, and critical infrastructure. And I'm so excited to be able to share some of that with you tonight. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and answer your questions.
All right, Jyoti Gondek.
Thanks everyone for being here tonight and participating in this conversation about our future. The last 4 years have been a little bit unpredictable for us. We are emerging from a pandemic, we faced a water emergency, and we saw economic shocks like tariffs. But through all of that, we stood strong together as a city. And as a result, we saw 250 people a day choose to move here and call this place home. They knew that under my leadership, we had attracted investments, we had created jobs, and we had grown our economy. And none of that happens by accident. It's determined and purposeful leadership that makes that happen. And you place an emphasis on what matters, and you build what's possible. And I have acted decisively when it matters, and I've always put you at the forefront. I've been a collaborator, but I've pushed back against both orders of government when I felt we needed a more fair deal. And that's the kind of steady and proven leadership that I will continue to lead with your support on October 20th. Thank you for being here.
All right, Grant Pryor.
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Grant Pryor. I am far more comfortable on a rig floor than I am on the stage, but I figured I am a regular working class guy. What I know is that times are tough, that the death by 1,000 cuts is real. We're all feeling it. That my kids who I love will never be able to get out of my house because they won't be able to afford any place to live. And that our streets, unfortunately, are going in the wrong direction. What I know most is hard work. It's all I've actually ever really known. And I've been lucky enough to do that all over the world, and I would be honored if you'd allow me to work for you. Thank you very much.
Next up is Sarah Elder.
Is it on? Oh, hi everyone. My name is Sarah Elder. I'm a small business owner, I'm a community advocate, and I'm a mother. And my reason for running in this campaign is I just didn't see myself being able to, unfortunately, vote for any of these actually very kind individuals here on the stage with me. So why I got into the race was really rooted in community, in understanding small business, and seeing things in a completely different lens than what you're probably going to hear a lot of tonight. I think that what makes our city great is actually us. It's the people. Without us, it's hard to have any of these things. But the fact that so many of you have shown up here tonight to take part in our democracy is really important and really special. And so I just want to say that no matter what happens on October 20th, I think that collectively, our investment in our city will always take us in the right direction.
All right, and Jeff Davison.
My name is Jeff Davison, and I'm asking to be your next mayor. I want to encourage everybody tonight to look at us all through a lens of trustworthiness and ability. We may not agree on every point, but with me, you're going to get leadership, experience, and vision. Now, I happen to have the good fortune of being born here in Calgary. My mom worked at the local elementary. My dad was a firefighter. I've seen Calgary grow from a small city to an international one, and I embrace and celebrate that change because the greatest thing about Calgary is the diversity of our community. My varied career has taken me from oil and gas to technology to film and video production to one term on city council and now running a provincial-wide multi-million-dollar cancer charity focused on prostate cancer. My career is almost as diverse as Calgary is. But most importantly, my biggest role is being a father to 3 wonderful children and a husband. I hope to show you tonight why you can trust me to run your city and that I will always listen to your voice, and that my goal is to put Calgarians back in the driver's seat and build a safe, affordable place of opportunity for everyone. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Now we're going to talk a little bit about public safety, which a couple of you have addressed already. But that combination of public safety and vitality, particularly in the downtown area where we are located tonight, and I think a lot of folks here are from the community. So beginning with Jeromy Farkas, I'd like to hear, based on your experience and your accomplishments, how can you give life to the ideas that you have on this topic?
Thank you. And my safety plan is called Built for Belonging. It talks about addressing the immediate safety and security concerns that Calgarians feel every day, right now in our downtown, on transit, other public spaces. It calls for reopening the downtown police station. Calgary is now the only major North American city without a downtown station. It also calls for a crackdown on the 50 to 100 repeat violent offenders. We know that it's about 50 individuals who are responsible for the vast majority of crimes against people and property, but it goes even further than that. It talks about actually getting to the root causes of the problem. It talks about funding prevention. It talks about mental health, getting to the source of challenges around addiction. It talks about funding mental health and housing supports. And it also steps up with support for the first responders themselves, because we want to ensure that the people who are showing up for us every day actually have the support and the accountability to do their work. So again, my plan can be found at ourpathforward.ca. Tough on crime, but even tougher on the causes of it.
Thanks, Jeromy. Sonya Sharp.
Hello? Okay. So my safety plan has been very clear. I am pledging to put 500 new police officers back on the street, and that's just to catch up to the national average. We need to be back up the top 5. Also to create a 24-hour police station downtown. Now you're going to ask me how we're going to do that. Well, we're going to look for efficiencies in the corporation to fund one of these most important things that we hear about every day, and that's your safety. On my track record, when I took over Ward 1, it wasn't a safe place for community. It wasn't a safe place for neighborhoods. It is now one of the safest wards in Calgary. Also, when the police were about $20 million in the deficit with some of the changes in the provincial government did to radar, I brought a motion for $20 million, which passed unanimously because members of council understood how important public safety is. One thing I'll leave with everyone is if you don't have a safe city, you won't have everything or anything you want, because no one will want to live here and no one will move here and businesses will leave.
Thanks, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
Thank you. Well, safety is the foundational consideration for all policy at the city, all work that happens with the city, and everything we should do in the community. So when it comes to this, our safety practitioners like law enforcement and the fire department, we need to make sure that they are fully funded and we continue to listen to them. Now, if I was speaking to a friend, I would definitely want to tell you that we actually have seen improvements in safety in Calgary, but people are experiencing something called fear of crime. And it's really this push for vibrancy. So I was trying to understand what's this word vibrancy. And what it really meant to me was the flower that attracts the bee. And so creating vibrant spaces means things that attract us. So when we're investing in new communities to get people back out into the community so they can have repeated exposure to safe environments, it's great food, it's great friends, and it's great fun that keeps us coming back. So keep that in mind in your discussions tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaeger. Brian Thiessen.
Hi. So when we drafted our public safety toolkit, I sat down with over 30 of the mental health and addiction agencies that work in Calgary and asked them what their priorities would be. And they told me they would focus on 3 things: housing, mental health and addiction supports, integrated with police and transit. And then I sat down with the entire executive of the Calgary Police Service, and I told them we drafted our public safety toolkit, and it proposes a housing first strategy. It's been done in Finland. It'll save about $100,000 per person per year, and it dramatically increases the success of treatment for addiction and mental health issues. 24/7 integrated with Calgary Police and Transit Police and housed together. And the Calgary Police Service responded, Brian, we worked on that for 4 years. It's called Reach Up, and this council didn't fund it. So we're going to do that on day 1. It's both a strategy all the experts agree on and one we can implement. Please check out our public safety toolkit.
Thank you, Brian. Jyoti Gondek.
Thank you. This council actually took measures to increase measures for safety. So we invested in an entire recruit class of peace officers and transit officers to support the Calgary Police Service. We invested in more outreach teams, and we ensured that those things were integrated so that the police could look after the criminal element and outreach teams and peace officers could address people in crisis. I also brought a motion just a couple of weeks ago to strengthen our bylaw to prohibit open drug use on our streets. And instead of sending folks to the criminal justice system, we'll take them to community court where they can get the supports they need to address the root causes of why they are on the streets. We also made sure that our fire department has been refunded some of the money that they've lost over the years. They're the first ones to respond to crisis calls, especially medical emergencies. They need full support, and we have consistently supported the police department in their asks for more funding, and we will continue to build on that.
Thanks, Jyoti. Grant Pryor.
So right now, currently, we have 3,000 homeless people downtown. Of those 3,000, 30% say they have used Narcan in the last year, 12 months, at least one time. So that means 900 people have died. They've been brought down by Narcan, but they've still died. We have to look at that this is not working. I look at them like I would look at my son, who's in the crowd, so I can't look at him. We have to care enough for them to hate us. And what I mean by that is we know anybody who has had mental illness or drug addiction in their family, the people that try and get them help are usually the ones that take the brunt of the hate for it. But we have to be brave enough to do that. So I want to enforce our laws, and I also want to get these people help. We can never let empathy become apathy, and that's what we've done. So we need to enforce the laws and then put those people into detox, or for a 3 months to a 6 month period. And then once we do that, we can use what he said. Housing first is a great idea, but we first need to get them clean, and we need to get them help. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Grant. Sarah Elder.
So I just heard a lot of stuff, and I don't actually know how much we can actually achieve in terms of promises that are being made tonight. So what I can do is tell you within the jurisdiction of the municipal government is that I will absolutely work with the provincial and federal government to make the needs of Calgarians known and to advocate for the changes to bail at the level of government where it actually needs to happen, as well as with the provincial government. The key to this is having those relationships. And unlike most people on this stage, I'm actually the most, I would say, pragmatic in terms of being able to walk in on day one and work with anyone. I don't come with political allegiances or any kind of political ties. And so staying in our lane, but also advocating for those changes is, I think, where we need to get started.
Thanks, Sarah. Jeff Davison.
Thank you. I guess I would start by saying, how many of us feel safer 4 years later in this room? Yeah, me either, right? Our seniors are not comfortable walking around downtown. Our teenagers do not want to take public transit. And people like me have to look over my shoulder everywhere I go. That's not Calgary. And everywhere we go, people ask, what are we going to do about it? Because what we're doing, it isn't working. I'm proposing pulling together a task force. I believe that with the brilliant minds Calgary has, we can help lead North America out of this challenge. But it starts by agreeing that we all have the same problem. It starts by bringing the federal government in to talk about housing and to talk about funding for that housing. It starts by bringing the provincial government in to talk about how we work together and solve some of the bigger challenges around mental health and addiction. It's the city working with police, but it's also all of those wraparound care agencies that we have out there in the community. We all have to be working side by side and all towards the same goal if we're going to have an effect on what's happening. And I ask you again, who's the right leader to do that? Because I'm somebody who brings people together, finds the common ground, and gets it done. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Now we're going to move into infrastructure and housing, two very hot topics. And for this question, we're going to start with Sonya Sharp and move down the line. So listen up here. Okay, so Calgary's population has exploded in recent years. We all know this, to the tune of, I think it's around 70,000 people per year. And the city's footprint has also grown exponentially. And every year at budget time, we get a parade of city departments that are saying, we can't deal with this. We're strained. We need more money. Transit, fire, police, the list goes on. So as mayor, how would you handle these growth pressures while also keeping property taxes reasonable?
Okay. So, as mayor, and is your job to lead 14 people, when you look at the budget, you need to not just look at the core services you need to deliver, but you need to pay attention what administration's putting in the budget that Calgarians aren't asking for, and it's already been showcased. There was $40 million put in the budget that administration wanted to put, but we didn't fund 2 growth communities that actually are going to build 5,000 houses in each community. So it's a balance and making sure that we're building in new communities. New community growth actually pays for itself. The levies in new community growth actually pay for themselves. And so we also have to make sure that we're not vilifying people where they want to live. If you want people to move downtown and live in the established areas, you also need to make sure that your fix-it-first mentality on our infrastructure can hold the development in these communities. Bowness, for example, water main break. But there needs to be a balance of smart growth. And a one-size-fits-all, like blanket rezoning, did not work. It is not working, and it's not building affordable housing, which made everyone think it was going to. So balancing of growth is really critical.
Thank you, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
I keep turning it. Okay, thank you. Okay. The challenges around housing are going to be addressed not just on the municipal level. So we have to ensure we don't have policy whiplash. Okay, that's when we change our minds too much or we have too much emotions. We need to have a lot of stability so the funding can come from federal, provincial, and municipal. Very, very important. Now, as we steward the funds for housing in Calgary, what we can do is make sure that it has very high quality. And so one of the ideas which I think is very, very good, because being a landlord is a business. This is somewhere where the city potentially can step in, is licensing landlords. This may be challenging for some individuals. The city takes an education first policy and slowly implementing this so that we can have the best landlords in Calgary so they can make more money, and we're going to educate them on how to run great businesses, as well as the least among us are protected when we're in a very vulnerable situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaeger. Brian, how would you handle the costs of growth while keeping property taxes reasonable?
Thank you, Jeromy. So we do have a detailed housing toolkit that will address the crisis in housing supply. But on the question about how we keep costs low, first, we have to earn back our A- in financial transparency that we had 4 years ago. This council has fallen to a D+ from the C.D. Howe Institute because they're not transparent about how they spend your property tax dollars. Then we have to ensure that we spend every dollar of taxpayer money wisely, that we do a full audit of city programs, understand where our hard-earned money and property tax is going, and ensuring that the city has its act together before we ask homeowners and property owners to pay more property tax. But the thing that nobody talks about is the 37% of your property tax dollars every year that go to the province. Despite them having income tax, royalty revenue, billions of dollars of revenue streams, they pick our pocket every year for 37% of our property tax dollars. I'm going to get those back.
Thank you, Brian. Jyoti Gondek.
Thank you. One of the most important things the city can do is create a strong tax base. And we know that in 2014, when we started to see energy companies leaving downtown, those property values declined, and that impacts our revenue. We are strengthening our downtown with the conversion incentive program. We've taken 11 buildings and turned them into 1,500 housing units. That's a way to strengthen your tax base. The Prairie Economic Gateway Project, which will make us Canada's strongest inland port, is a play for manufacturing and industrial. That will strengthen the tax base so the burden isn't all on homeowners. So when you drive the economy and you strengthen the tax base, you're able to keep taxes low. The other thing is we're missing $437 million every year from the provincial government on things that they have downloaded to us. We need to fight to get that back. Just like we fought to get $256 million for housing from the federal government, I'm prepared to fight that the provincial government give us what we deserve.
Thanks, Jyoti. Grant Pryor.
So economics is the main driver of usually all of our ails and all of our wins. So basically what we need to do when it comes to affordable housing is build houses, of course, that goes into it, but also make sure that we tax foreign investment that's buying up the homes that are for regular Calgarians. If it's not going to be a primary resident, or if you're going to be a large conglomerate or corporation, you have to be taxed for that. I want to tax you 30% for buying that home, so that regular Calgarians can get into the markets. What we get right now is in certain buildings, they will end up buying up 80% of a structure. So when I was a finishing supervisor, that's exactly what happened. That then becomes rentals, which then Calgarians take, and that money leaves Calgary. We want to keep the money here. We tax those conglomerates. We make sure, and I like to say, we tax wealth, not work.
Thank you, Grant. Sarah Elder.
So it's not just homeowners that are facing an increased burden in terms of affordability and property taxes. It's also small business owners. And that's something that doesn't really get talked about a lot. Today, I was actually talking with 2 small business owners about exactly this issue and how when that bill comes due for a very small space in the East Village, and they're paying almost $12,000. And that's a really big sum of money. And so how can we continue to ask small businesses to carry the burden? Understanding also the challenging economic climate that we're in right now. So rethinking how and who carries the burden is really critical. And that's not something that, we're discussing here to the way that it should be. Small businesses are having an extremely difficult time right now. And so that needs to factor into the decision making in terms of the burden.
Thank you, Sarah. Jeff Davison.
Well, thank you. Again, complex problems do not have simple answers. Now, let's start with first, the greatest thing about Calgary is the diversity of our communities. I don't want every community to look the same, which is why I don't believe in the blanket rezoning. I think the blanket rezoning was about affordability, which, the average row house starting at $700,000 is not affordable, and building 4 houses at a time does not keep up with the 70,000 people moving to Calgary every single year looking for opportunity. I look to how we build new community base, right? Let's look at building new communities within existing communities. I've done that as a former city councillor in Springbank Hill, in West District, and at Winsport. We'll add 55,000 residents, creating tax base to the west side of the city. That's important as we look forward to some of the largest infrastructure spends in Calgary's history, Green Line. So let's think about if we have ridership issues, if we have affordability issues, if we have density issues, if we have climate issues. How are we not advancing more development along the Green Line to support it in all 4 of those ways? And that's what we will exactly do. I'm also the only one talking about a tax freeze, and we will get to that very soon.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jeromy Farkas.
Thank you for the opportunity. Firstly, on housing, my housing plan begins with the acknowledgement that we are in a housing crisis. We need support not just for homeowners, but also a recognition of renters, nonprofits, city administration, and city builders to be able to solve and meet that challenge, to be able to focus the greatest amount of density where the services and infrastructure can support it. On taxes and infrastructure, it's really important that we spend our money wisely. A lot of my viewpoint on this is informed by my experience as a not-for-profit director, as a CEO having to lead a charity. We need to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. And when it comes to some of the infrastructure issues, we pay for it regardless. Calgary is now one of the only major cities with such a high leakage rate. We lose about 25% of our infrastructure, or rather our water, due to the aging nature of our leaking water pipes. We need to continue to invest. Austerity isn't going to be able to return the investment required to be able to meet the challenge of Calgary being a city of 2 million people in the next 4 years.
Thanks, Jeromy.
So we're now going to have a question followed by a rebuttal round. The question round will start with Jaeger and the rebuttal round with Brian. Several of you have already addressed the issue of rezoning. We've got housing shortages, we've got people coming to Calgary, we've got big challenges with respect to that. I've heard a few of you talk about sort of general ideas or consultation that might happen with respect to this. You only have 1 vote on council, so how do you propose to address the issue, and how can you individually promote the kind of consensus that's needed to actually move such a policy proposal forward? So starting with Jaeger.
Council votes together with all of the votes. And so they vote in the best interest of Calgarians. And what's really important, and what happened here was engagement was lacking. So engaging with things like our community associations, having that voice proactively come. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. But the challenge is reaching Calgarians where they are. When you go and knock on the doors, a lot of people, they don't want to, politicians coming to knock on the door, you don't know if they're a criminal, we don't want to open the doors. So the thing is we need to make sure that this is done with a lot of transparency and also a lot of digital engagement, because everybody has a phone in their pocket. Well, most people do. Some people I know have 4 of these in their pockets. So we need to reach people proactively through digital media. So it really seems like a marketing issue that the communications department needs to be unified at the city. And I have a plan to bring the city together in 10 departments. It's very cool. I'd love to talk after about it.
Thanks, Jaeger. Brian Thiessen?
So I'm the only candidate that's talking about how we're going to fix zoning. So we're hearing from some of these candidates, including even today, about how they're going to repeal zoning. And my question for them is, and then what? We've actually proposed real concrete proposals on how we can fix zoning. And it starts with listening to all of you. Calgarians were ignored in the zoning discussion. I saw it from both sides. And we're proposing to refer it back to the Housing Committee and consider ideas like capping open zoning on 4 units, insisting that developers do a pre-consultation with neighborhoods. For homes that are within 60 meters of a development, the developer has to sit down with the neighborhoods, talk to and consult with people, make changes, and then report to city on how they've adapted their plans for the neighborhood's concerns and publish those. So we have real concrete proposals on the next steps, what we do to fix zoning, and we've got a full party, 13 candidates to do it.
Thank you, Brian. Jyoti Gondek.
Thank you. We heard from almost 700 people during the hearings for rezoning, and there were many people we didn't hear from. Folks that are working 2 jobs, people that were taking care of their kids, who also have very real housing needs. So we heard from a lot of Calgarians. We didn't hear from everybody. And I can tell you, we implemented about 24 amendments to change the way we look at development permits. So the point that people were making is, I'm worried about what's going to be built next door to me or across the street from me. And unfortunately, land use doesn't address that. Development permit stage does. So we strengthen the ability for people to have a voice when something is going to change in your neighborhood and it might affect you. The other thing on affordability is, on average, it takes about 40 days to approve a single detached unit and 225 days for a townhouse. With the zoning change that we made, it saves about $22,500 per unit in the time saved alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Grant Pryor.
So we have to be careful about doublespeak. We're going to hear that a lot up here tonight by a certain amount of people. You can't get, we need more housing, but. I don't know if anybody ever watched Game of Thrones. Anything that comes before the but doesn't matter. The truth is, we need more housing, period. I need my children to be able to get a house. I need your kids to be able to have a house. I need them to have a family so that we have a future and have grandkids. That's what this is about. I get the rezoning part is uncomfortable for a lot of people, but the whole thing about being a parent or a grandparent is sacrifice. It's all we've ever done. And so that sacrifice will pay off for our kids and our grandkids. So I'm behind that, but we can amend. The last thing you want to do, and I think most of you agree with me, getting red tape out of the way in the government is a win. So let's take that win, and then we can repeal some of the things that we need to fix, like parking or community aesthetics. It's totally doable. That's doable. But the question is, I will sacrifice for your kids. Will you sacrifice for mine or for theirs or for anybody's? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. Sarah Elder.
Okay. So I'm in favor of repealing and replacing blanket rezoning based on how it was put in. And, I find it really frustrating to hear someone say, well, there just weren't enough people who came out and spoke in support of blanket rezoning. That's just, Calgarians told mayor and council what they wanted. It's up to mayor and council to listen to that. So it's really interesting to hear people now kind of position it as, well, the outcome would have been different if more people had shown up. I think Calgarians have told the mayor and council currently that they are opposed to blanket rezoning. And so my approach to blanket rezoning is thinking of it not as a blanket, but of a patchwork quilt. So density where it makes sense, and bringing neighbors and communities along to support projects.
Thanks, Sarah. Jeff Davison.
Laurie, could you start by re-asking the question?
Sure. I didn't read it. So the idea here, many have talked about rezoning. People in Calgary are divided on the issue of rezoning. We need housing, but I just like, if I can, as concrete a sense of your proposal for what you're going to do to address the question and how you're going to lead others to join you in that revision as one vote on council.
Right, okay. So it starts by putting a strategic plan together. We're going to have the largest turnover in council history before us in this election. That's why it's really important to pay attention to who you're voting for and what do they stand for, to make sure that, not just for mayor, but for councillor, you're getting out there in alignment. You don't need a party system to do that, right? I think we've seen a good example of how the party system already does not work on city council. You have the yes mayor party getting everything done, and you have the naysay party wanting to do absolutely nothing. Our job is to bring people together, find the common ground, and get things done. So when it comes to how do we repeal the blanket rezoning, we work together. We put a strategy together. We listen to Calgarians, and we move forward with that plan. That's the goal here, right? Put you back in the driver's seat. That's what we talked about. The challenge we have is we have a lot of top-down, we know best attitude, and that's got to change. At the end of the day, all of us need to remember one thing. We're here in service to Calgarians, and that's the attitude we're all going to go into it with, or I'm going to go into it with, and hopefully lead a new council through to make sure that we're representing you.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeromy Farkas.
Thank you. And I think the question of whether to repeal blanket rezoning is somewhat the wrong question. We had 300,000 brand new Calgarians come to the city over the last 4 years. Many of them, just like my dad, who came here as a refugee. We need to be able to provide the housing. We need to be able to provide the safety for every single Calgarian. So the question is, how do we continue to build the housing in the places where the services and infrastructure can support it, where the community support is there? And that's what my housing plan is about. It's about repealing blanket rezoning, addressing, yes, the issues that Calgarians have, particularly the idea of, say, an 8-plex going up next door, but we have to acknowledge that we are in a housing crisis. The average income in Calgary can no longer afford the average rent, so we have to build. It's not good enough to say that in order for us to listen to the community, we have to stop development. We need to focus the development on major corridors. We need to take a look at low-hanging fruit, areas like, say, the Westbrook LRT station. We need to partner with nonprofits. We need to be much more focused, specifically with seniors and assisted living. So we need to continue to grow. We need to be able to continue to build. And my vision for the city is one that embraces that growth, embraces that change. I know that change can occasionally be difficult, but as long as the community feels like we have a voice in it, we can move beyond the logjam that we're seeing on the city council right now.
Thanks, Jeromy. And Sonya Sharp.
Thank you. I have been very consistent about blanket rezoning. I actually tried to stop blanket rezoning before it even came to council in 2023 with a motion to cut red tape without removing the people from the process, because that's what blanket rezoning actually did. It called out the people being the red tape, not the process. So that is moving forward as we are repealing blanket rezoning, full stop. And someone behind me asked me how I'm doing that. I'm doing that with 9 other people that signed a pledge today. We are repealing blanket rezoning. We are reinstating what was there, which means you're bringing your voices back to council. We were already approving 85% of those applications. And then we're reforming the planning department. You can shave 120 days from wicket to shovel if you do it properly. And so it's not just for causing certainty for the developers and builders, but then residents will know exactly what's being built in their community. And remember what I said before, new community growth actually builds houses faster than inner city growth. So we need to be focusing on a balance.
Thanks, Sonya. Now we have a rebuttal round. Jeromy will moderate this, but we'll begin with Brian Thiessen. Each candidate can choose who they want to respond to, and you have 1 minute to do that.
And you don't have to, but it is advisable to, because these people came out to hear some things. So you don't have to, but you should do it. And with that, Brian Thiessen.
feels like my parents when they say you don't have to eat your vegetables. I will say when I went and sat in on the zoning discussions, and I was very surprised. I appeared in good faith. I wanted to have a discussion about zoning, and what I heard was a lot of dismissiveness from council. And one councillor in particular, Dan McLean, actually in the middle of the session I was at, made the comment along the lines of the anger in the room that people felt on zoning was a good campaign issue, and anyone that was opposed, it was a bad campaign issue for them. And I guess since he's on your team, Sonya, I'm wondering, do you see the anger that people feel about their not being consulted on zoning as a good campaign issue for you? Because I see it as a housing issue. I see it as a real serious issue where we need to bring people together in a solvable way, not a campaign issue to stir people's anger and tap into it.
All right, Jyoti, are you gonna do this or no? Awesome. Jyoti Gondek.
I think one of the things we need to realize is that when you consider people aging in their community, often people need to downsize at some point. And I don't want people to have to move out of the community or the neighborhood that they love. I want them to have options to stay there. And a lot of you have said to me, my adult children are now educated elsewhere, they've gotten a job somewhere else and they want to come back, but they can't afford to live in the community they grew up in. I want to give them options. I want to make sure people have choices and options and can enter the market. I also want to make sure that people who need a hand up can access affordable housing. And the rezoning conversation allowed us to make an important move. We cut almost 6 months off of the approvals for townhomes, just as one example. That increases affordability to the tune of $22,000. So it was a move we needed to make to ensure everyone in this city has a place to live with dignity.
All right, thanks, Jyoti. I think just hang on, I think you're right, Sonya. So, yeah. Yeah. So go ahead, Sonya Sharp.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think I'll remember what Brian even asked me. So thanks, Brian. Okay, so first of all, Brian, if you have a problem with Councillor McLean, I think you should have a coffee with him. Second, what I'll say is the wedge issue of break rezoning wasn't even about housing. People felt like their voices were being removed. This is their single opportunity to talk to people they elect. And like I said, we spend hours. That's your job. Your job is to sit in public hearing and listen to people. And if you don't like that, don't do this job. You spend 2 or 3 days there. And so I wouldn't say that we even thought it was an election issue. I know Councillor McLean brought a plebiscite to see that, you know, people really wanted something in their community. They should speak to it. So he tried to make it a plebiscite issue of this election. But what I'll say is it's not about building housing. This turned into removing people and their voices from city council. We are building houses. We have done a great job on our housing strategy. We're using land for affordable housing. This process removed you from it, calling you the red tape. And that's why we tried to stop it.
All right, thanks, Sonya. Your time is up. I'm sorry. Grant Pryor.
Okay, so I figure I'll take this time to just kind of address something. You guys will notice 2 different types of voices that are up here. You'll hear me, Jaeger, and Sarah, and then you'll hear the 5 talking. And if you close your eyes while the 5 talk, they pretty much sound the same. And if you close them really tightly, you can hear the teacher from Peanuts go, wah, 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 wah. The thing is, everybody's got a plan. They've had a 3-point plan, a 5-point plan, a 29-point plan, I'm sure. But we've all been here before. We've all had these plans before. They were on council 4 years, 8 years, and 12 years ago. When do we finally not just listen to what they're saying, but look through it? Maybe we don't need any more plans. Maybe what we actually need is some actual work.
Thank you, Grant. Sarah Elder.
I feel like the opportunities right now are limitless in terms of where this could go. So my question is for Brian. So Brian, and I guess Sonya, for anyone who's running as part of a party, how are you and your slate of council candidates going to be making decisions? Are they going to be making Are you going to be making decisions on things like this behind closed doors? Are they going to be made transparently out in the open? You know, what what documents did your candidates have to sign in order to participate, possibly? What did they have to agree to be a part of your party? I think Calgarians, this isn't something that we've had any conversations about so far in this election, but with the introduction, either a test or permanent political parties at the municipal level, I think that having conversations about what this actually means for us and decision-making really matters.
All right, Brian, 15 seconds. Yeah, 15.
Okay. So we created a political party that has to be disbanded under the rules right after the election. We agreed only to 4 principles: public safety, housing, transit, critical infrastructure. No party whip. There's no disciplinary. We have agreed that you, the public, will be our party
All right.
whip.
Thank you. Sonya, do you want to respond quickly? 15 seconds.
Working. Okay, what I'll say is your decision about how decisions will be made, everything will be made in public. And our form of party is very similar to Brian. There's no party whip. We don't follow any party politics. We're like-minded individuals that came together across all spectrums to represent Calgarians. And everything has been very transparent. And we are following the legislation of the bill passed by the province.
Thank you very much. We will move on to Jeff Davison.
I'm going to start with public safety, fail. Infrastructure, fail. Remember when you couldn't shower? Affordability, fail. And why are we failing on affordability? Because council timelines get in the way. When it takes 8 years to put up a new building, an affordable building, that's a fail. This problem of a housing crisis, an affordability crisis, this is 100% self-inflicted. And all due respect to my colleague down at the very end, Jeromy, you voted against every development you ever saw. So how are you going to build the houses? You voted against every mental health and addiction thing. You voted against everything we saw on the streets. I'm curious as to how the redemption tour should be taken seriously when we spent 4 years where you were the lone wolf and now you want to be the head of 15 people.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And Jeromy Farkas, you are next. You have 1 minute.
Do I get 15 seconds?
You get 1 minute.
You get a minute.
Or, yeah?
Thanks. I guess, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you. As a director of the Calgary Housing Company, I advocated very strongly for continued investment in affordable housing because we knew that this was a problem that was too important to just leave the private sector to solve. I live in Glamorgan. It's sort of ground zero. You see $600,000 bungalows being torn down, replaced with $750,000 luxury condos. It doesn't work. That's not how we're going to actually be able to solve the housing crisis. It's going to come from investment, and it's going to be particularly in support of renters and for the not-for-profit sector. So my question would probably be to Councillor Sharp and to Mayor Gondek. There's a lot of talk about the importance of housing, but the decisions that are being made today by this council have not reflected that, particularly from the spending. You had $1 billion in public money for the Flames, for 100% of the proceeds to go back to the Flames owners. Do you stand by your vote in support of giving housing for the Flames, but not funding it for Calgarians?
All right. Next up is Jaeger Gustafson. Sorry.
I didn't get to go yet. I didn't.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to, Jeff Davison kind of asked the question I was going to ask of you, Jeromy, but what I get really frustrated about and disappointed is that you really understand the whole process of the event center and lending money to build our own capital projects. And you just want people to think this happened in a whole different way. We use reserves. We are giving that money back over 35 years plus an escalator. Province gave us $330 million for infrastructure costs. And I'm just disappointed because you were a member of council, you know better, and you know how our city works, and you know the budgeting process. So for you to say, do you stand behind a vote of housing or an event center? I stand behind both. We need a vibrant city. We need to bring attraction in, and we do need housing. Those are apples and oranges. So I'm super disappointed that you spin a narrative on the way we funded the event center, which is a city-owned project.
All right. Thank you, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
Yes, thank you. So I have a question for Mayor Gondek. One thing I think that people had challenges with in the past was continuation of funding, and these are things you have addressed. How are you currently addressing transparency around capital budgets and capital expenditures so that the public can know more about what we have actually committed in terms on the federal and provincial level? Thank you.
Jyoti, 15 seconds.
Thanks very much for that question. I helped to change the budget process so that you are able to see what we're doing earlier than November when we used to do the big grand reveal. Every month, council discusses the budget, and anything that we can disclose publicly we do, and you get that preview in September every year now.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Jyoti. What we're going to move on to now is the next question, which is we're going to go into a couple questions about how council works, or doesn't, as the case may be. And so Calgary City Hall, as we've been talking about, has to work with other levels of government. That's a key part of the job of being mayor. You have to work with other levels to get things done. It sounds easy on paper, but as we know, it's not. The provincial government in particular is very how should we say, involved in municipal affairs, increasingly wants to be involved. Move this train around, maybe remove some bike lanes, all that stuff. So, your one vote on council, how are you going to work with other levels of government and set a tone as mayor to get things built for Calgary? And this one, we will start with Jyoti Gondek and work down the line.
Thank you. So for the last 4 years, I've been building relationships with both the provincial and federal governments. With the federal government, they trusted our housing strategy enough to award us $228 million to ensure we could get housing built. And a short while after that, I received a phone call from the minister saying, we can give you a bonus $28 million. What do you think you would use it for? I said modular housing, and we received that funding. We built a trusting relationship. With the provincial government, I remember when the low-income transit pass was going to be defunded, I called Minister Nixon. We had the problem resolved within an hour. So I do take time to build relationships, and quite often they're successful. But I'll tell you this, I'm not afraid to pick up the fight when we need to. The elevated version of the Green Line downtown makes no sense. And we are doing a feasibility study again to demonstrate it makes no sense. I will fight the provincial government on this to represent the best interests of our city. So collaboration is great until you need to push back.
Thank you, Jyoti. Grant Pryor.
So I guess to anything it's going to be, can people get along with you? Can they understand what you say? Can you speak for everyone? And I think nobody really knew me before today, but I'm pretty sure you guys love me now. Yeah, it's awesome. So see, I'll take that. That's a win. That's a win. Basically, I think we have to be able to work with people, obviously, from both sides of the fence. And what's happened now, parties will increase this, but is division. Everybody's on the far right, far left, and none of us are there. We're all right here in the middle. Whether I talk to a guy on an oil rig or a waitress in Los Angeles, we can get along with everybody. Most of us are right about here, and that's what we need to do. We need to hit this sweet spot of getting along and seeing people as people. It's not that difficult. Perfect example of UCP, right? They're going to give us $180 million for a detox center. Let's take that money. Let's swim with the current and work forward and not just think if you're against the UCP, screw it, we're just going to give that money away. That's not how the best way to work for anybody, and it doesn't help any of the homeless people downtown either. So I appreciate it, and thank you guys for laughing at my joke. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Grant. Sarah Elder.
So, why does the provincial government want to get involved in municipal politics? I think that's a good place to start. And, I really think it comes from a lack of relationship. And I think we've been able to see that play out in different ways. And so Calgary has the option of doing something different by working with me as mayor. I am someone who has relationships on all sides of the political spectrum, both provincially and federally. And honestly, I think I might be the only person up here that can actually genuinely and honestly say that. So I'm not going to like someone one day, and when the leaves change color and a government falls out of favor and is kicked out of office, suddenly finding myself unable to advocate for Calgarians, because I can work with absolutely anyone, and that is what we need.
Thank you, Sarah. Jeff Davison.
You know, I think we have to agree that we're much more similar than we are different. And at the end of the day, sometimes you don't always love your partner. But that's where ideology has to stop. What we need to do is actually start working on the merits of every project, whether that's working with the federal government or working with the provincial government or working with our community partners. It's about establishing partnerships that work. You don't establish partnership by fighting everybody on Twitter and then asking them for money the next day. I've never seen that successfully work. But I do think this new council will have a significant opportunity to showcase that we can be different, that we can be bold, and that Calgary can be big thinkers again. Remember, we have about $15 billion worth of public and private partnership ready to go in our city. Our future's looking bright. But to do that, we actually need to establish a partnership that says we respect each other and that we're going to report back to one another, because we have to be able to win together if we're going to bring people back to the table to do this again with us.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeromy Farkas.
Thank you. I had the opportunity recently to go toe-to-toe with the province and win. And here's how we did it. So I was recently the CEO out at Glenbow Ranch. So if you've not had the chance, it's an amazing property that was contributed by the Harvey family, the Haskains, and others contributing to the space between Calgary and Cochrane. The problem was this was donated for Albertans to enjoy forever until the UCP decided it wasn't. They decided that they were going to flood the park and destroy it in favor of a flood mitigation project. So what did we do? We built a team. We built an organization, reached across party lines, brought together conservatives and progressives, the grassroots and business leaders, ranchers and environmentalists, to be able to get it done. We didn't just go toe-to-toe to fight the province, we attacked the problem rather than the people. We found an alternative to be able to get the province what they wanted, which was a secure flood mitigation for Calgary, but also the lasting protection for the park. So that's the approach I would take as mayor. Work across party lines, be willing to push back when necessary, but also be willing to partner to make the other partner look good too.
Thank you, Jeromy. Sonya Sharp.
So what's important is, as mayor and council, as mayor you are to lead the other members on council as well. So you are only one vote, but together you're stronger. And you are to work with the provincial government, no matter who's in power. And the common thing you both need to have, because you're not always going to agree, is respect. And you can't have awful conversations on social media and expect people to want to come to the table. In the past, we've had issues where things like that exploded on social media and things ended up dying, and we had to retrieve things back. And so on council, I was able to work with some of my colleagues on not just the event center, but the Green Line. We did bring a motion to bring it back, bring a task force together, and get the province to understand this had to be built. The other thing, though, I will call out the province a little bit about an article they wrote about staying in their lane, staying in your lane. So I will challenge the province with that as well. We'll stay in our lane if you stay in yours. And don't be coming telling us how to do certain things like bike lanes and other things. That is our jurisdiction. So I think there's a two-way respect that has to happen there.
Thank you, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
Why do you think they sit behind wall of glass at City Hall? It's because these politicians, they're all the same, thank you, Ian. They're afraid of you. They're afraid of the voters. I'll tell you, Daniel Smith is afraid of the mayor of Calgary when the mayor of Calgary has your mandate. Nenshi, terrified of Calgarians if he's in Edmonton, and the mayor of Calgary has your mandate. And the mandate we need to come together is that we are going to have representatives first. Our workers at the city, we're going to treat them better than anybody else. And all of our partnerships will be productive. But it's when Calgarians get together. The mayor of Calgary is the most influential and has the largest mandate in terms of tax base and potential in Western Canada. So your vote matters more than anybody else's right now. Your vote personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaeger. Brian Thiessen.
So when I was chair of the commission, I had to report to the provincial justice minister, and I worked with both an NDP and a UCP justice minister, and I worked equally well with both. I had to speak different language to the two groups, but I learned how to communicate on their grounds and find consensus. So I have proven that I can work with whatever provincial government is there. But I will say this, make no mistake, Danielle Smith wants to take over Calgary City Council, and she has some preferences on this stage. But we created the Calgary Party, a centrist party that is built to fight that. We have centrist options from the UCP, NDP, federal conservatives, and federal liberals. And we've built meaningful centrist policy that works only for Calgarians. And my job will be to stand up to this premier. If she wants to step down from her seat and run for Calgary mayor, she should do so. But we're going to fight only for you.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you all for answering that question. I'm going to pass the next one to Lori.
So we have another question with rebuttals. We didn't quite plan that you would be asking each other questions. We thought you were going to be giving rebuttals to what we just talked about. So we're looking good for time. So what I'm going to do this time, just in preparation, when it comes to rebuttal round, if somebody's asked a direct question, I think we can afford 30 seconds for you to respond, and that's how we'll proceed, because we're making pretty good time here. So we're talking now again about council functionality. We all know that voters want all of their officials to work together at different levels of government. Some of you have addressed that already. A lot of challenges we're facing, and we just want solutions to those problems. 4 of you have served on councils that some have described as not working very well together, unable to collaborate or to find common ground. So what I'd like each of you to say is provide some evidence of your ability, your experience, your success, if you like, at leading people, particularly on council, or the potential for leading people on council to find that common ground and that compromise. So it's a leadership question. As mayor, as only one vote, what can you do to bring others on side and get people working together in ways that I think some people have lamented wasn't happening on the last couple of councils. So we'll start this one with Grant Pryor, and then the rebuttal round will start with Sarah Elder. So Grant.
So the question is how, when I was on council, I brought people together on council?
No, how would you? What can you point to in your experience? I know.
I wasn't on council.
What can you point to in your experience that shows us your ability to lead people to come together despite disagreements, to find common ground? What's your record, if you like, in terms of leadership on those kinds of issues?
My wife likes me. She thinks I'm pretty cool. That was harder than you think, actually. So basically, I think the thing is, I ran 3 nightclubs with 200 plus employees from a variety of different places all over the United States. I've ran 2 nonprofits. Culmination and coming together is something that obviously just kind of comes natural to me. This technically usually doesn't come natural to me, but because you guys have been so cool, it's actually been a lot easier, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I think the thing is council working? So when they talk about what they're going to do, the 5, about how they're going to make council work, they've been on council, but everyone keeps saying it doesn't work. So maybe the thing is you'd need somebody that's not on council, that's ran other businesses, that's talked to a multitude of people all over the place, and who has the ability to bridge that gap, because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I got blind spots just like all of us. But I'm willing to admit those blind spots, and I'm never going to spin on you or turn or lie.
Thanks, Grant. Sarah Elder.
So also having not served on council, but I can tell you about my business. And my business is actually rooted in advocacy for the increased participation of women in politics from a multi-partisan standpoint. And what that means is that I think the job of electing more women and underrepresented people who are also very well qualified isn't only the work of one party, it's the work of every single party. And so my approach to working with people is it's just the way it has to happen. Are we going to do we build the rebuttal in, or is that something separate?
No, the rebuttal is after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll each be given a chance to respond to or ask a question of another candidate.
But separately, so I don't need to build it into this?
Nope.
Okay. Well, seeing as I've used my time and I've answered this question for all of us, I will hold on.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Jeff?
Well, first of all, I've never needed a party to get anything done. I believe in diversity of thought. I believe that conversations solve big problems, and I believe in innovation. And frankly, running a healthcare charity, if I had 14 people around me that simply said yes to everything, I'd fire every one of them because it's not a good use of donor dollars. I want different perspectives at the table, which is why I'm running as an independent. You know, it's interesting because we talk a lot about the dysfunction of this council and how that compares to the last council. And I would say, again, you already have a front row experience on what's happening with parties with this council. Again, you've got the Yes Mayor party. Again, you've got the Naysayer party. The difference on our city council was, relatively speaking, 13 of us, we got together and said yes to things because we put Calgarians first. We listened to their concerns, and we did what they asked us to do. The challenging person that we had was also running for mayor. And I think that's a very good indication of how somebody is going to run for mayor and operate this next city council should he be elected. Often, experience is a good indication of what's coming future.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeromy, you're up. I think that might have had a couple of references to you.
I knew he was next.
One, it's with great humility that I stand on a stage like this, and I'm being blessed with the opportunity for a second chance. Over the past 10 years, I've grown, so has the city. I'll be honest with you, as one of Calgary's youngest city councillors, I really struggled. And it's that experience that I think allows me to be able to actually provide what I never got as a rookie councillor, that coaching, that mentorship. Losing the election was one of the best things that could have ever possibly happened to me. I got a lot of opportunities to learn who my friends were, but even more so than that, I got the support of Calgarians, the coaching, the mentorship, surviving 172 days through the wilderness. You don't do that unless you're willing to put your life in other people's hands and vice versa. Leading a scrappy small nonprofit, sticking it to the province and winning, raising funds for big brothers and big sisters, working in the nonprofit sector every single day. This is really tough work. You don't succeed, as I have in those roles, unless you can actually build those high-performing teams and lead them to success by sharing in that success.
Thanks, Jeromy. Sonya Sharp.
So leadership is something that you learn. It's instilled in you as a child. I do believe that. I ran a business for 16 years in a construction industry, and I led 26 men, a crew of 26 men when I was 20 years old. I worked with the city, led the business and local economy team. We were trailblazers during COVID, putting patios on the street, supporting the business community, and doing things no one ever thought about. On council, yeah, I might have been on the minority side, but I did lead, and I did bring things across the finish line that were contentious and would pass unanimously. The one thing, though, I will say is some of us might not have got along politically, but we did have respect for each other. And I'll say that with Mayor Gondek behind me, even though we didn't agree on policy, we respected our opinions. And that's actually critical, because that's how you lead. Another thing is, as a party that we're running right now, I am running with 3 other incumbents that turned to me and said, would you lead and run our city? Will you run for mayor? No one else has that on this stage because they see something in me that no one else has. So that's why I'm running to be your mayor.
Thanks, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
Mayor Gondek, it was really, really nice when you increased the transparency on capital budgets and you told everybody how to expect that information. See, we use as teachers positive reinforcement, because then the next time it comes out, most of it will be what we reinforce as the public. And so it's very important that we use positive reinforcement. And when we use positive reinforcement, if I want to make Jeromy lose, okay, because he might lose, I'd say, Jeromy, you're doing great, everything's perfect. You're going to win. See, but you have to be specific because we learn from each other. The only time, though, we want to fight with people, and Jeff, you had mentioned, when should we fight with, fighting with people? Well, when we're dealing with people with narcissistic personalities or sociopaths, being consistently inconsistent will make them very submissive. Believe me, it will be tremendous. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Jaeger. Brian Thiessen.
Okay. So I will say that I have spent 30 years working in leadership roles in organizations, and my practice of law as an employment practice is going into organizations in their toughest moments, investigating, helping them get back on track. And here's what you can tell about leaders. You can see leaders if they build teams, and that's what I've done. 13 candidates running across this city, working together, developing policy together. I worked as the chair of the Calgary Police Commission with 2 city councillors on that, as well as the police executive, and I built consensus with that group, listening to people and understanding their opinions. And I will tell you, being the managing partner of a law firm, not one of your partners thinks of you as their boss. It's not a top-down command control. You have to sit down every day, understand your colleagues' concerns and priorities, come together with a unifying strategy, and execute. And that's what I've done for 30 years of proven leadership, and that's what I do as mayor.
Thanks, Brian. Jyoti Gondek.
I'm the only person up here who has actually taken on the leadership position on council of being the mayor. And while other people were trying to find themselves and understand if they had what it takes, I was in that role. I was with you when we went through the water feeder main break, and I was honest with you when I said, we're not exactly sure what happened. We don't know how long this is going to take, but here's what we're doing to make sure that we can get water to your homes. And I came to you every day, twice a day, to tell you everything I knew. And I was transparent with you, and I stood with you as we went through that. That's how I've led. There have been more unanimous votes on this council than so many councils previous. This is the council that just approved unanimously the preview of the budget. This is the council that made sure that we are ending open drug use. This is the council that passed a housing strategy that is leading in the country. This is the council that consistently has done things for you as Calgarians.
Thank you, Jyoti. So now the rebuttal round where you can either address something that someone has said in response to the last question or ask a question of another candidate. Try to keep the questions as brief as possible, and we'll give everybody 30 seconds to respond. Yeah, you start, Sarah.
So, Jeromy, the reason I'm actually on this stage right now is because I was serving as your campaign chair, and it was because of your lack of leadership in that capacity that I decided to leave your campaign and run myself. Why should anyone else in the city trust your leadership?
From day one, our campaign is the only one who's actually been fully transparent with our donors. We've shown from every single corner of the city, from every single walk of life, conservatives and progressives on that campaign team being brought together with that shared vision for the city. I've always kept my promises, even when it has been difficult to do so. I'm the only councillor on the stage who actually kept their promise to decline the city council golden pension at great personal cost. Leadership, it's a challenge. I've never been perfect in the past. I don't profess to be, but all I can promise Calgarians is that I've learned from my mistakes. I've continued to grow as a leader, and the results have been in the work that I've done, not just partnering with, say, Mayor Nenshi on the mental health and addiction strategy, not just championing the issues that I did for low-income transit pass in the prior council, but in the work that I've done today. So my ask to Calgarians would be, don't judge me on who I was 10 years ago. Judge me on who I am today based on the vision of where we're going to be able to go as a city.
So if you could try to keep those answers to 30 seconds, I may have to, I know. So if you could count down, and it was unclear, if we could count down just when it hits 30 seconds, please try to wrap up at that. But we've got a bit of latitude here as well. So next we want to hear from Jeff Davison. How would you like to address something someone said?
The only thing I would say is I think the only thing council's unanimous on is that we've got to get to work because apparently there's an election happening in less than 20 days. All of a sudden we care about mental health and addiction. All of a sudden we care about policing. All of a sudden we care about all of these big issues in our city. So I guess I would challenge them to say, you've had 4 years to get things done. Where have you been?
Do you want to address that to someone in particular?
Do I want to address it to somebody particular?
Right.
Either one.
All right, well, why don't we give all of the current council members a chance to respond to that. So we'll start with Sonya, please.
Sure. I've been working, Jeff, actually, really hard to get things done and actually working on things that when you served on council, you didn't get done, like defunding the police. So I would say I've been working really hard. I am one of the councillors and speak to the people that opposed everything I did. I worked hard. I brought amendments that failed, and I showed up every day to serve Calgarians, and I am proud of what I've done, and I will be working hard for the next 4 years serving Calgarians on what they're asking for.
Thanks, Sonya. And now, Jyoti Gondek, please.
The fact that we have $15 billion worth of construction projects on the go for the next 3 to 5 years, which is something that we haven't had since 2008, is because this council invested in Calgary. We made decisions to invest in our downtown core. We made an investment in the event center to make sure we could draw more investment. We have 3 Marriott hotels coming to our city. That will generate property tax revenue. This council has made strong decisions to invest in Calgary, and it shows.
Sure, if that was a question sure. Sure. Okay. Okay, so let's
We
move on.
don't get 15 seconds?
I don't think there was a question directed to you.
Well, she said me because she said she's been at work.
All right,
While
go.
I was doing
15
something.
seconds. Let's not
I mean,
waste
I would just
any
say
more.
that, let's be very clear, nobody defunded the police. What we did was actually listen to the police chief and what they asked us to do, which is something you might want to do considering you've come up with some dreamy 500 officer plan. That's not something the police chief has asked you to do.
Okay, Jeromy Farkas, a question or address some of the points the others have made.
I just want to speak directly to Calgarians. One of us on the stage is going to be the mayor who welcomes the 2 millionth Calgarian. This is probably going to be one of the biggest challenges or opportunities we're ever going to face as a city. But we've got to be ready. We need the housing, we need the safety, we need the investments here and now to be able to meet that moment. We need to lead in, we need to lean into this vision of growth. Just like my dad who came here as a refugee, every single Calgarian is owed a safe, affordable life of opportunity here in the city. And that's the focus. That should be the focus of every individual on the stage, all of you.
Thank you, Jeromy. So Sonya, if you'd like to ask a question or address a comment made
I'm
by
going
one
to
of the
address a comment, and then I'm going to clean up my mess. I'm going to address a comment about something, and it's actually going to surprise everybody in this room. There is no such thing as a golden pension, and I'll explain right now why. When you're elected as an official, you get brought into a room, and you're with HR, and you have a pension, or you opt out of that pension. But what that means is that deductible doesn't come off your check every month. So Jeromy, I think you need to address to every single person in this room and the city that you, of course, didn't take the pension, but you probably didn't take that deduction, which means your payout would be a little bit higher when you didn't get reelected last 4 years. So the myth busting of this golden pension has to come to an end today. Folks, I worked 20 years in the city. There is no golden pension. I worked 4 years as a counselor. I might get $350 a month when I'm 65. But that 9% a month on my paycheck came off. Someone up here that keeps talking about the golden pension, his didn't.
Jeromy, 30 seconds to respond.
I guess the question is how I would spend my paycheck. I would donate to Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I would donate to the Alex. I would donate to Leftovers Foundation. Actually, just run the tape on the Jeopardy forum, the mayoral debate that we had. All of the amazing nonprofits doing amazing work, the Women's Center, others. That is how I spend my paycheck, and that's the type of causes that I'm very passionate to support. And I got to give a shout out to the Glenbow Ranch Park Foundation too. Thanks, George.
Thanks, Jeromy. Jaeger, would you like to ask a question or respond to something someone else has said?
So tonight, yeah. So at one of the forums, I said I would support Brian Thiessen, and really it wasn't because everybody's got to go to jail, which the media loves it when we do this. So everybody's got to go to jail. No, I'm kidding. They just take that part. But my question for Brian Thiessen is one of the beautiful things I think he does is it's not just a vision for Calgary, but I saw that the next step that leaders do is they have a vision for the people in front of them. And so, Brian, if you could bless us with your vision for whomever is the next mayor of Calgary, what is your vision for that person? And that could be you.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting that one. It's really awesome sitting next to Jaeger. I mean that sincerely. I just want to say, my vision for Calgary is I truly believe we deserve to be voted the best city in Canada. I truly believe we are. But I think if we do the hard work on public safety, transit, critical infrastructure, and housing, we can be the best city in the world to live, work, and play. And my vision for this city is that the next council will make council boring again. That we will roll up our sleeves and fill the potholes, fix the water mains, so that 30 years from now, your kids and grandkids will say, remember that one summer when we couldn't take a shower? And we will have done all the work from a service mindset of serving Calgarians and setting up this city to be the best city in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Now, you've used up most of your time to respond to others, but we'll give you, if do you want to ask a question or challenge somebody else on their answers to a question now?
I think I just took a full minute, so I'll leave it. Thank you.
I mean, you've got 15 more seconds if you want to do something.
So you give a lawyer a mic and ask him not to ask a question? Yeah. You know, I will say I really admire Redemption Story, and I have sincere respect, Jeromy, for how you've grown as an individual. But when you were on council, you voted, you proposed a motion to defund arts and culture, CADA, by $6.5 million, or 44%. You voted against Max Rapid Bus Transit. You voted against the Green Line, almost every major infrastructure project. So my question for you is, you know, given room for your personal growth, it's not you, but Calgarians who are still paying for all your mistakes. Do you deserve a second chance in those circumstances? And why should Calgarians let you spend billions more of their dollars and deprive them of much needed services in arts and recreation?
Go ahead, Jeromy. Yep.
Well, that's just a misrepresentation of my record. Take out your phone now, Google Farkas Sutina Public Art. I championed local art projects as a way to advance reconciliation. It was very important to me that we actually had the local vendors, the local fabricators involved in that. You can run on the tape of the other issues, but I'm very much in support of a vibrant city where everybody can thrive.
Thanks, Jeromy. Jyoti Gondek, do you have a question or challenge for one of the other candidates?
I think they've taken care of each other quite well.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you. And Grant Pryor, do you have a question or challenge you'd like to bring to one of the other candidates?
Yeah, I do. Actually, that was well played, by the way. That was good. Say nothing and win. That's awesome. Okay. Basically, for the people that are going to do a party. Now, I respect both of you, and you're very smart. You're very intelligent as well. I just kind of understand how we'd make such a dumb decision of actually being in a party. Like, we all see this every day. Politics now is dividing all of us. And just being more divisive on a municipal level, I don't know, it just seems to make no sense to me. Can you square the circle for me that makes sense to have that divisiveness and to have that kind of clog the gears? Am I going too long? No, I'm not. Because it's like somebody saying, if you eat too much food, you're fine. You're not going to get fat. If we have parties, there's going to be congestion. There's going to be this breaking between each other. Can't have that. I mean, it just doesn't make any more sense.
So 30 seconds each to Brian and to Sonya, and you're being endorsed, so maybe we'll give Jeff a chance to crack at it too. So starting with Brian.
Sonya and I agreed me first, but do you want to go? Okay. So first of all, let me dispel the myths on political parties. They exist in every major democracy throughout the modern world. They are not inherently evil. They are a voice, a chance to allow candidates who didn't otherwise have the resources to run, to build consensus. We built a centrist party with vision across the political spectrum. So we have built the consensus that I'm expecting on city council. And I think that is true leadership. I do not think that it needs to break down our municipality. And I will say this, the Municipal Government Act does not even allow us to caucus without other city councillors if we're making decisions that affect you. So there's no decisions behind closed doors. We're going to work together. And the most important meeting I will have after being elected mayor is with all the councillors that are elected that aren't in my party to start to build that consensus and learn how to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sonya.
I think it's important that Brian said about myth busting some of the things that we're hearing about political parties, but I'd like to call this a team. And we're like-minded individuals that work together. And we've built this team over one of the most stressful times. Campaigning is one of the most stressful times, and none of us have broke. We've gotten stronger, and we're there to lead. And here on our team, each individual is representing what their communities need. And that was part of putting people together. And we only have 10. We have had a lot of people want to reach out to be part of it, but we decided 10 was good because there are members of council actually running that we do have great relationships as well, and we're wishing them luck. But what it is just making sure that we're calm, consistent, and can deliver what Calgarians are asking for. And as mayor and leader to Communities First, we've been through a lot at this point, and we're going to continue working for you, and that's what Communities First is all about. Believing in the same principles, believing in the same priorities, and delivering on all of it. And we have the political muscle to get things done on day one.
Thanks, Sonya. Jeff, did you want to respond? You just endorsed. You're not a member of a party.
I'm an independent candidate, so I mean,
Okay.
I just think of it like this. You know, Calgarians came out in record numbers to say we don't approve of the blanket rezoning. They also haven't approved of parties, so that's all I have to say
Fair
about
enough.
that.
Thanks so much. So that's it for me. We're now going to have concluding remarks, and Jeromy will lead us on that.
Yes, so cease your fire amidst yourselves, and don't aim it out there, but speak to these folks. You'll each have 2 minutes for closing remarks. Starting, sit down, not yet. Starting with Jeff Davison. And then you're next, Jeromy. And
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for taking time out of your evening to be here. Like I say, I think this election, we've talked a lot about public safety, we've talked about infrastructure, and we've talked about affordability. But this election comes down to something very different for me. It's all about leadership, experience, and vision. We are a growing city. We've got lots of challenges. But it comes down to the fact of remembering this is still a $5.5 billion a year corporation. So who has the experience to actually lead us as a company? Who has the leadership capability to bring people together, find the common ground, and get things done? Who has a vision for Calgary? And my vision is very simple for Calgary. Create a safe, affordable place of opportunity for everyone. It's why we all came here, right? It's why we choose to make a life here. And it doesn't matter if you came from Saskatchewan or Saudi Arabia. You came here for opportunity. See, it is that entrepreneurial spirit that we want. It is keeping our young people here. It is looking at challenges that we're seeing through our downtown and being able to work across sectors to help fill up those towers, to create a tax base that's it's meaningful to you. Because every time we don't do that, every time we don't adjust, every time we don't innovate, that's just more out of your pocket. So look, I'll tell you this. I still think Calgary is the greatest city on earth. And I think we have an opportunity to make it better. We're going to work through all of these challenges, but all I can ask you on October 20th is think deeply about who has the leadership, experience, and capability to move Calgary forward and continue to make this the greatest place on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeromy Farkas.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity. There's really nothing like being able to run for mayor in your own hometown. The people, the conversations, the welcome. It's an absolute honor standing on the stage with all these candidates. And what I've learned is that at our heart, we all really want the same things. We want housing we can afford, safe streets for our kids, jobs we can count on, and leadership that we can trust. But over the past 4 years, City Hall's been stuck. They've been polarized, distracted, and not really focused on the right priorities. Political parties and ideology have only really made the situation worse for Calgarians. The political parties really force people to have to vote for bad ideas and against good ideas based on the jersey color of the people putting them forward. And that's why I'm running as an independent, to be able to bring people together, to be able to build a diverse council working together as a team. Because when it comes to building a better city, I strongly believe, based on my past experience, that there's no such thing as left, there's no right, there's only together, and there's only forward. But, so we're left really on the stage for you as voters starting Monday, you're left with really 2 questions. The first is, are we better off today than you were 4 years ago? Is our city safer? Is it more affordable? Is it more united? If your answer is no, then the second question is simple. Who on the stage has the best chance to do what hasn't been done in over 4 decades? Defeat a sitting mayor? Who has the experience and the plan to make our city better off? I'm Jeromy Farkas, And I've grown with the city, from a kid in Dover to one of Calgary's youngest councillors, to leading a nonprofit as a CEO. And along the way, I've built strong teams, delivered real results, and always kept my promise. The reality is that this is a two-horse race. A vote for any of the other candidates is a vote for more of the same. But if you put your trust in me, I'm ready to get to work. I'm Jeromy, and I'm ready to be your mayor.
Thank you, Jeromy. Sonya Sharp.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks to both of you for moderating. I know that's not an easy job. So thanks, everyone. And I know we're getting ready for advance polls here on Monday that run all week next week, and there's some issues obviously happening with the post office, so make sure that you're able to find out where you can vote, and we'll have that on my website for sharpformayor.ca as well. But I spoke a lot tonight about not running on a personal agenda or an ideological agenda. I'm here for you. I have a to-do list, and that to-do list is very clear. I've talked a lot about rezoning, public safety, and getting administration back on the right course. I've seen City Hall from a business perspective. I've seen City Hall from the inside, and as a member of council. None of my opponents have seen that. I am ready to get going day one. And like I said at the beginning of this, if we don't pay attention to our senior administration and making sure that they understand who they report to, none of the things we're hearing tonight are ever going to happen. I've built a team of 10 candidates that share the same to-do list. We're strong, we're competitors. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen so many times I had to rebuttal tonight. We are ready to get the ground running. We have the political strength to do that. The other thing I want to mention is we all talk about public safety and affordability, but what we're not talking about is the loss of trust. I did sit on the council. That was the worst. And I'm running for mayor because I'm going to turn around how you trust City Hall again. So I'm Sonya Sharp. I'm running for mayor, and I'm building an affordable, safe city that works and where you can trust City Hall again. So go to sharpformayor.ca to find out a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonya. Jaeger Gustafson.
Thank you. And oh, sorry, I dropped my phone again. All right. So my name is Jaeger Gustafson, and we are up here. And we are philosophizing, and some of us have we all have an ideological agenda. It's to win. And so how you win and how I win is you go to mayorgus.ca and you learn to vote together. And I'm really happy that Jeromy took some of my great ideas about, positioning people as a two-way race, and that works really well. But the challenge is what we're actually facing in the future is things that require unity. The next 10 years are pretty much already planned, and we need to make sure that now as that plan is rolled out, just like what happened with rezoning, we have to see why this happened, like with the Calgary plan. There are plans above this, and we need to make sure that every single one of us in this room, like what's happening with motocross in our city, is being protected, like the wetlands on the motocross area that have been ignored, and they want to put a bus depot there. Pretty soon they want to put a bottle depot in your community and you won't have a say. My plan ensures that you have a voice. There's no way that everybody can talk to me every single day or talk to you every single day, but it's building that network of communities in Calgary is where it starts, and that's what we used to have, and that's what we can bring back. Winston Churchill once said it wasn't about looking into the recent past, but the further we look into the past, the better our future can become. And like our committee said, Eureka, we have to kick the ball into the net, and you are the captain of your own team. So if you go to mayorgus.ca, we can learn to vote together. Gustafson, that was correct. And I hope I spoke to you as one of my friends today, and I hope you got to know me a little better. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaeger. Brian Thiessen.
So thank you so much for the opportunity. Great job moderating in difficult circumstances. And thank you all for taking an interest in democracy and being out here tonight and online to listen to us all. I've already outlined my vision, but I'm going to talk a little bit about we're at a crossroads right now as a city, and we do have a dysfunctional council, and it is the least popular council in the history of Calgary City Council. And that's because there was a lot of fighting amongst the members that were sitting on council right now. And so I'm asking you to trust someone who spent their life helping fix dysfunction in organizations. whether it was not-for-profits, municipalities around this province that I've worked for, as well as Fortune 500 companies. And what I found when I worked with those organizations, and when I'd go in and facilitate board meetings and talk to them about getting back on track, is this. You have to find your North Star, your shared values, where you want to go as an organization, and what you hold in common. And you know what organizations, whether they're not-for-profits or corporations, do really well? They don't get caught up in ideology. People work from across the political spectrum every day and find common sense solutions on how to fix their organization and move it forward. I think it's the politicians that have got it wrong. I think all of you and all of us who work in organizations every day from across the political spectrum and find more in common than we find apart have the solutions. And I'm looking to bring that to City Hall. I think City Hall is ready for someone who's a proven leader with 30 years experience, who has taken the challenge of dysfunction and built a team that complements one another, that respects one another, and works and has produced over 100 pages of well thought out policy on how we all move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Jyoti Gondek.
Thanks very much for being here tonight, everyone. I know there's many other things you could have been doing with your time, but the fact that you wanted to participate in democracy is incredibly heartwarming. And Lori and Jeromy, thanks so much for moderating tonight. Thank you to the Calgary Public Library as well as Bow Valley College for being our hosts and our sponsors tonight. It is pretty exciting what we have before us as a city. We are on the cusp of our next great chapter, and it comes with a strong foundation. We are the city in this nation that is leading in housing starts, and we were able to do that because the federal government trusted us with $256 million to deliver housing so people in the city can live with dignity. We are the place where we have done downtown office to residential conversions, 11 buildings, resulting in 1,500 new homes downtown, more space for people to live with dignity. We are also the city that said we cannot have open drug use on our streets, and we are strengthening our bylaw. We are strengthening our community court as well to make sure that people have access to the services they need to get into recovery, to deal with their mental health struggles, and to deal with homelessness. And let's not forget, we just got shovels in the ground on the Green Line after a decade of waiting, and that was not an easy fight, but I managed to get the province back to the table, and we have that project underway. We also managed to set ourselves up for success to be the strongest inland port in this nation, if not North America, with Prairie Economic Gateway. It's 30,000 jobs and $7 billion worth of economic uplift. This is foundational work that we started in this last term. I'm looking for your support on October 20th so we can deliver results on all of the things that we have started together. None of this would have been possible without you, so thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Grant Pryor.
Okay, I kind of want to bring it down here a little bit. I think the biggest thing we got to talk about here is money. The five up here are going to spend upwards of probably $5 million to win your vote. And where does that money come from? Some of them are going to spend $1 million by themselves. Is this the system that we want? Money in politics, taking over regular people's voices. They'll talk and they're going to say to you all these things, but that is the crux of it. Where are we going to be in 10 years? How much money is it going to take for then for a working class person to get his voice? I know right now I've spent $2,200 to try and reach out as much as I possibly can. I would love to see what they have spent on this and who they actually are required to give that back to. What does that mean? So what you guys need to ask yourself is, do you want a system where money wins politics? Do you want a system where divisiveness is going to seed because of different parties? Do you want a system where working class people, like you, like me, will not get a voice anymore? I don't want that system. And you know what? I don't actually care who they got or who they're going to run for, because I know who I'm running for. I'm running for you, and I would do that shit for free.
Thank you, Grant. Sarah Elder.
Okay. So I'm going to say something that you're probably not going to hear anybody else say. And, you know, calling Jeromy out in that way didn't exactly make me feel very comfortable, but I think it needed to be done. That's what I'm going to continue to do in this race and as mayor. I'm going to put myself in uncomfortable situations and positions because I think that that's the lens of transparency that we need. Every day I have conversations with people who come into my business, you know, having really sometimes very deep conversations and about the future of our province and our community and our country. And I can tell you that right now people are opting out. They feel like the world is too much, they're not paying attention, but they're also afraid. They're afraid of what's gonna come. We're in a really, really, really tricky spot. And this election really, really matters. And I appreciate everyone taking the time to put on forums like this, but you know, I think what we really need actually is more time engaging with each other and asking the hard questions so that you can make your best decision on October 20th. And we haven't had that ability so far. We've spent a lot of time talking about ideas and money and things, but actually challenging each other on what we're really running on and why we're doing it. So I'm going to make an ask, hopefully, that there can be a forum where we spend less time talking about our plans and more time talking to each other, asking each other how we got to this point and why we've made the decisions that we have.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you all. I'll pass it back over to Lori.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you for being so adaptable in terms of our evolving format. I actually thought the questions that you asked of one another and the challenges you brought raised a lot of issues that we didn't think we had time to do. So thank you so much for that. I'm just going to say to everybody here, it's really important to get out and vote. You're obviously more engaged than a lot of folks, but perhaps encourage others to do so. We've seen tons of elections with ties on a recount, people winning by one vote. Every vote can really make a difference, and it looks like folks aren't as engaged in this election just yet as perhaps we would like. So as the political science prof, I'm going to say, go out and vote. I'm also going to thank all of you who helped organize this.